The first annual RC Wingers helicopter fly-in started out under overcast skies. But it never did rain, and all day long, pilots and spectators showed up at our field in Mooresville, North Carolina. And despite the less than perfect flying conditions, it was rare to not have one or two helicopters in the air all through the day. And for those that haven't been around radio-controlled helicopters before, a lot of what they saw that day surprised them. Our club has a number of very good helicopter pilots, like Casey, who's flying this model shown here. I wanted to show you a little of the slower stuff that Casey and those fellows do because we can actually focus on them. But once these guys get going, keeping the helicopters in the viewfinder is really difficult, and keeping them in focus is about impossible. And with the virtually limitless directional capabilities helicopters, their flight paths didn't make a whole lot of sense to anyone but the guys flying them. At least I hope they understood what they were doing. I think sometimes they do repetitive movements like this just to prove to us that they really are in control, even though it doesn't look like it. It's also very obvious that most of these pilots have very little to no fear of the ground. And while we had a bunch of electric helicopters, there was a good number of gas models also. It doesn't matter what they use for power, all of them are very aerobatic. We also had a number of multi-rotor helicopters, including custom-built ones. With the technology available, the imagination is the only limiting factor. And there's lots of pilots helping each other, like here where Isaac, one of our better helicopter pilots, is giving me a hand with the tail rotor on my brand new T-Rex 550E. When I flew this helicopter at this fly-in, it was literally 3 days old, and I've got experience that goes way back like several weeks. So it should be pretty obvious that I represent the low end of the talent scale at this fly-in. But my shiny new helicopter went home still shiny and still in one piece. But the same can be said for just about all of the helicopters that came to this fly-in, because we had very few crashes. At noontime we held an AutoRotation contest. This fellow's a visiting pilot, but he turned out to be pretty good at this. The pilots had to be about 100 feet up, make a circuit around the field, and then shut down a motor and try and auto-rotate into this circle. And see, he's very close. This is Casey, one of our club's better helicopter pilots, and it turns out that he's not bad at this either. Each pilot got 3 attempts, but it really came down to the best 2. And here's Casey's first one, and he's almost spot on. And his next best was also pretty close. It's in the outer circle, but he missed the inner circle by a little. And this is Russ, one of our members, and the guy everybody was trying to beat. Russ had one landing that wasn't very close, for him anyway, but then he had this landing, and you can see that one wound up with the skids parked right on the edge of the inner circle. He needed one more good one to win, and here comes that one. Bullseye, and Ross wins again. The important thing at a fly-in is that everybody have a good time, and that seemed to be going on everywhere you looked. A couple of local hobby shops and a few not-so-local vendors provided prizes for our raffle. And once again, Ashley, the daughter of one of our members, handled the picking of the tickets to make sure that everything was on the up and up. And while not everybody wanted to get their picture taken, you can see that we had a good crowd of pilots on hand, and many from outside of our club. And you can see that they brought a nice selection of helicopters. There was a little bit of just about everything here. Later in the afternoon, the skies began to clear, and the pilots got a bunch of flying in. It's been a number of years since the RC Wingers had a helicopter fly-in, but this is going to be an annual affair, and that's good because it looked like, despite the weather, it turned out very well for everyone involved.